Shortly. If I can get our speakers here. Oh, there's Colonel. Okay. Come on, we don't bite. Come on in. And if you need, it's a little warm because we turned on the AC because it's so loud, but they turned on the AC too early and then it gets really warm. So there's some bottled water on that side. Please help yourselves. So we're going to go ahead and start. I'm Mahina Martin. I'm with the County of Maui. I'm the Public Affairs Director. I never introduce myself, so people scold me all the time. Like, who are you? So I tell them, guess, you know. They say, what are you in charge of? I said, I'm the chief garut. If you're local, you know what garut is. If you don't know, you can ask someone. Anyway, Mayor Bisson sends his aloha. He actually is in Washington, D.C. this week, visiting with our delegation and some federal agencies, advocating for our needs here on Maui, and particularly for the disaster recovery. So he sends his aloha, but he is unable to be with us this evening. But we do have some special guests that we're very excited to introduce you to as we start. Tonight, I'm going to go over the agenda, share some announcements, introduce some special guests, and you're going to hear from our presenters information, and then we're going to go ahead and take some questions. Come on in. No shame. Now that we all looking at you. Come. Grab a seat. Thank you. So tonight, you're going to hear from the Army Corps of Engineers. They're doing steady progress, and they're here as usual. Colonel Swenson is going to speak about their update and be here for the question and answer period as well. You're going to hear from our Office of Recovery. We talked a little bit last week about the community planning team being here this evening to share what the plans look like in the horizon and help with any questions as well. So they'll be up on the agenda. And then we'll hear from Shane Agawa, the director of the county's environmental management department, who'll give the update on the status of the Oluwalu temporary debris site. All of our speakers will be here for the question session later, and we'll help with as much as we can, whether it relates to any of their topics or any question you have. Speaking of questions, just to clean it up, we'll be helping with some of the unanswered ones from last week as well. So we'll provide that. But before I move on, I'd like to invite up, I'm sorry. We want to remind you at each of our meetings that there are counselors here at our meetings. There's Kiala from the Department of Health. She's over, where is she? Okay, she's waving over there. And then we have, she's going to scold me. Is it Melissa? Melissa right there in the front row as well. We welcome you to utilize them as you wish. We also have a faith table there on the white tablecloth way in the backside. You can please make yourself welcome at any of those resources for you. We also want to encourage you to call the hotline or call or text 988 if you're in need of support at any time, not just tonight or after this meeting, but at any time. We're going to meet these kids shortly, but before we do, we're going to see if Councilmember Paulton, if you have any announcements. I just saw her at the budget meeting, and here she is again. Long time no see.
Aloha mai kako. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. I'm very excited as you guys are to hear all the updates and information. I just wanted to share with you tonight, we're in full swing with our budget process, and thank you so much to everybody that came and provided testimony as to the needs and wants of Lahaina this past Monday. If you missed this Monday, we're still continuing on. Thursday will be in South Maui at 6 p.m. Monday, Molokai, Tuesday in Central Maui, I believe. And if you can't make an in-person testimony opportunity regarding budgetary needs for the upcoming fiscal year, you can also submit your testimony through e-comment online or virtually. We're going to be meeting tomorrow's Thursday and Friday, starting at 9 a.m. So um, if you have a computer, you can go to mauicounty.us/agendas and click on tomorrow would be 4/11. We're going to be discussing housing and human concerns. We did hear loud and clear on the Monday night that affordable housing is a big priority for West Maui. If you'd like to get your testimony in, click on 4/11 and scroll over to the right hand side of the thing. It says e-comments, and you can submit written testimony that way, or click on the agenda and click on the link. We'll start at about 9 o'clock with presentations from the departments we're going over at that time, and then open it up for public testimony. And I believe tomorrow is housing and human concerns presentation. So my apologies if I'm not as responsive to you during this budgetary time, because we're in budget all day and all night, with the district community hearings. We just got back from Lanai was last night, and then West Maui was Monday. So it's kind of we call it the road show, where we go to each community and hear from them in person. So that's kind of what I've been up to, and I trust the administration has been taking care of you in my absence. So thank you so much, and that's my update.
I was just telling Councilmember Paulton today that I'm amazed how she keeps up with the information. And keep in mind, I'm public information myself for the county, but her consistency at sharing and following up is amazing. So I think you're well represented that way. I applaud her for her constant scrolling on social media, I guess, and all the work that she does. Up next, last week we talked about meeting three key authors from Westside who could not go to school during the time of the fire and found themselves having the opportunity to work with the Lahaina Art Society and visiting the different hubs. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Napili Hub. And they were enjoying a chance to use their artistic talents. And then their teacher mentor, and we're going to bring her up to tell the story, decided to make a promise to create a book. And so this book that you see here in the photo is called Makai Loves Books. And you're going to meet them shortly because I'm sure they would love to tell you their story about it. And this is a wonderful, wonderful. Our meetings have generally been about updates and answering questions, but every now and then it's pretty good to celebrate something neat and something precious and something positive. And what more precious and positive than coming from a 3-foot tall, 4-foot tall bundle of joy from the Lahaina community. And so I'm going to call them up a little bit. They're all, look at that. I have to tell you, they had an author signing event. They sat at tables, met people who had their book, whipped out their pen and said, "Hi, what's your name?" And autographed the book for each person. It was like amazing. I hope when I grow up, I can be an author too. But I would love to have them come up here so we can say hello and you all can meet them. Can we have Makai, Elena, is Elena here? And Ulysses? Okay, Elena could not come. Okay, Ulysses? And Makai, come. Come, Nursing. Austin, can I get one of those mics? Okay. All right. So I'm going to get a microphone to you and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, okay? And while I do that, our folks have something special for you. This is Cynthia from Mayor Bisson's office, and this is the famous Kim Ball on Hawaii News Now all the time. He's from the Mayor's Advisory Group. All right, I'm going to go get that little mic over there. Sound check. Okay. All right. You both can share the mic. Junkin Po. Okay. Ulysses, how old are you?
I'm 9 years old.
Wow, you're 9 already? Oh, you feel so short. Okay. Makai, how old are you?
Same thing, 9.
You're both 9?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm 10. We got to try. I know. It's like, he's like, no way. So, how did it feel when you first saw your book?
I felt kind of surprised it actually came out.
Well, you should have faith a little bit. Makai, how did you feel when you saw this book? And it has your name on it. How come it says Makai loves books?
Well, I read a lot over the summer, and I love books.
And you love books, so they named the book after you?
Yeah.
Okay. And Ulysses, you didn't mind? I said Makai loves books. And Ulysses,
Nah,
too?
I'm okay with it.
You're okay. It's already printed, kind of too late anyway. So, what do your parents think of you folks having a book?
They're happy to see the book. Like, they're happy we made the book. They're proud.
They're proud?
Mines are super proud. Like,
Can we have the parents stand up? And your Ohana? These are the parents of Makai and Ulysses. So I have one more question for the two of you. Are you going to write more books?
yes. We are.
And I know Deanna is here, and if she'll come up a little bit, I understand this book was first self-published, and now it is going to print and be published with some proceeds going towards a special fund. So here we can use this one.
I'll use the hot to taller one. Hello, I'm Deanna. They know me as Miss D or Auntie D. We originally just printed the books for the families in the keiki from our learning hub, but so many people have been interested in their story. We actually just got our link for our self-publishing today, so we are sharing it through Help Maui Rise and on Facebook and Instagram. But our authors wanted to share the benefits of selling the book, and so they decided to donate most of the proceeds to Help Maui Rise. If you haven't heard of them, I'm sure everyone in here knows what they've done. They've just an excellent organization of GoFundMe pages with all families vetted in need from Lahaina, and they've done just an amazing job of organizing. So it was a very, very worthy cause, and Makai actually has started his second book. I saw him the day after the book signing, and he already had a few pages of it written. So I was excited to see that. But yeah, thank you guys for recognizing them. Yes.
Thank you, Deanna. Okay, boys, I do notice you're well dressed. Makai, you're on your way to being the famous author, and you have your suit and your outfit. And then Ulysses is next to you, showing he's all the rocking guy with his Hurley shirt and sneakers. They're not just sneakers, right? Okay. We're going to see you folks around. Thank you for coming. Congratulations on your book. How about a hand for these boys and Elena? How exciting. We didn't plan it to be Kids Day, but since it kind of ended up that way, we want to show you a clip, and you're going to meet this kid. He's a kindergartner from Seattle, visiting here by the graces of some Kula family who hunted them down online to find them and bring them to Maui. He had a program called Lemonade for Lahaina. He was on Good Morning America. He inspired so many kids, and we're going to talk story with him a little bit if I can spot him. Where did he go? Okay. Oh, look at you. Okay. Hang on right there. We're going to watch this clip. Go ahead, Mia.
Together we raised over $15,000. Woohoo! This is Lemonade for Lahaina, and we want to raise money. I was just thinking of a stand, and then I thought we should do it for the people of Lahaina.
Yeah, we had just been in Hawaii on the Big Island when the fire in Lahaina broke out. So we'd been talking a lot about all the things they had lost. People were so generous, giving him $5, $10, $20, $100 for a cup of lemonade.
We're selling pink and yellow lemonade. We're accepting cash and Venmo. We hope to stop by.
We were just blown away by how much people gave and how willing and happy they were to give. It reminded me that people want to be generous and sometimes they just need the opportunity or the invitation to donate. We were just really thankful to be a part of it.
Thank you, everyone. That's helped me raise enough money for the people of Lahaina.
So this keki's name is Edison, and Edison is here with his family. Edison, come on down with your family and your host family. Are they here as well? Is it Mike and Kimberly? Finally, I'm taller than a kid. Aloha and welcome. So we're very, very excited to meet you, Edison. And I have a few questions. And these are your parents. And Kelly. Kelly is part of the family that brought them over. This is the Aloha Spirit in action from Seattle, Washington, all the way to Kula, all of it for Lahaina. So I'm going to give you this microphone, and I just have some questions for you because you're a pro. How old are you?
5.
Was it exciting to sell lemonade?
Yes.
Oh, you're a talker. Oh, he just woke up. Me too. So, Edison, who did you sell your first lemonade to? Was it your mom?
Yes.
Did mom pay the $100?
No.
Oh, boy. Did she give you $1?
No.
Oh, my. Okay. She gave you a hug?
Yes.
Oh, hug for a lemonade. How did you make $20,000?
From Venmo.
Oh. He said from Venmo. How does a 5-year-old know Venmo? Okay, I'm fascinated. Maybe that's another story. Okay. So, what was it like to come back on an airplane and come to Lahaina this week?
Good.
Good? Boy, you're a hard interview. Is lemonade your favorite drink?
Yes.
Ah, okay. How about we give mom the microphone? Let's see if she says more than one word. So, could you introduce yourself and your husband?
Yeah, my name is Amy Jewell. This is my husband, Matt, and our son, Archie,
Okay.
who's also asleep. Yeah, they fell asleep on the drive.
So, was it Edison's idea to just pick lemonade?
Well, he wanted to have a restaurant, and
Oh.
we.
Have you met Ulysses and Makai?
Yeah. Oh, well, he wanted a menu. So he had toys and popsicles and lemonade and bubbly water and ice cream. I think we had all of that, but lemonade was the hot seller.
Obviously, $20,000 worth.
Yeah.
All for Lahaina. And I understand you're just here for this week to visit.
We are. Yep.
Okay.
At Kelly's gracious invitation.
Kelly's gracious.
Yeah.
Kelly and her family from Kula saw their story in Good Morning America, which is a clip you just saw. And from watching that, they were playing detectives and actually found them and invited them to Maui and hosted them so that they could come see the people of Maui who Edison here raised money for. So Edison, you can wave to the people of Lahaina. I wish everyone on Akaku and our social media could see the hundreds of people here applauding this 5-year-old and all of the keiki. But we welcome you and thank you from our defense side. And we have a lei for you, Edison, just because you're the special guy. That is for Lahaina. And I. All right. And Kelly, I really want to hear a little bit from you. What made you look for them?
Well, we have 7 kids ourselves. When the fires happened, the upcountry fires happened right behind our house. We were spared, but obviously just seeing the devastation and everything that had happened, we immediately jumped in and just started helping Lahaina down here at the hubs. And when I saw this story and having raising children myself, so many, I just think it's our responsibility to, as a parent, to raise our keiki, to have the kind of compassion and to pay it forward and to educate them to do that from a tiny, tiny age. My husband and I, we're so touched by this family. We are so touched by the parents for raising these kids this way and to live, on mainland and to have the kind of heart he did and to want to do what he did for this community made us want to find them and bring them here and let him see what he's done and how he's touched his community and meet people, not just see it from afar. And I just felt like that would be really important for him moving forward throughout his life. So
Thank you, Kelly.
that's
good. Edison, Edison, can you show a shaka? Do you know what a shaka is? Do you know the shaka? Oh, he spotted the candy. All right. He's like, wait, the lady's holding candy. Okay, you can have your candy now for the shaka. Okay, Edison, your last words. You want to say aloha to Lahaina?
Aloha.
Thank you to all of you for coming. Please stay for our meeting if you wish, but we can go. Thank you. All right, we're going to continue with our meeting. We just thought that all of you would just have a good, warm heart. And I think all of our keiki need to be uplifted by the rest of us as well. So, oh, okay. Oh, that's him influencing a bunch of neighborhood kids. Looks like a politician at heart. Just a few announcements. As a reminder, next week we will be hosting our Lahaina homeowners meeting on Tuesday. There will be no Wednesday meeting because Saturday is the neighborhood meeting for the Kilauea Mauka. So rather than have everyone come to a meeting, we're going to give you a reprieve on Wednesday, but Tuesday are for homeowners. Okay, so 5:30 right here. And again, as mentioned, as we've been mentioning for weeks, on Saturday, the Kilauea Mauka neighborhood. Last week we had a question, is that Kilauea Mauka 1, 2, 3, or any of it? We said all of it. Please come, you'll hear more about it from our team from community planning. Councilmember Paulton already spoke, I jumped the gun on that. I also wanna let folks know that if you have a question that we're not answering or you're not able to be here, we're working on a way that we can take the questions and help with those answers so that if you're temporarily living off island or out of state, we can also support that. And if you can't come to these meetings, so we are trying to address that for those who can't make it to our meetings. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Colonel Swenson to do his update. And Colonel, your heart you follow, yeah, those kids.
I know.
I'm going to let you.
Can I take it off?
Yes.
Aloha. It's awfully hard to follow Edison, but I'll do the best I can. Thank you, Edison. That was great. So I just want to give an update. I was asked to do an update on 2 things. First, I want to start with a correction. Last week we had a discussion, sir, over there about cinder ash. I got it 50% right. I got the cinder part right. It was crushed cinder, not cinder ash. And although they sound similar, they are different. So for erosion control, I just wanted to follow up and just make that correction. The two items that are authorized in the contract are crushed cinder and crushed gravel. We're only using crushed gravel at this point. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I have some wonderful news. So last week I introduced little c, cleared, capital C, complete. Cleared properties and complete properties, the difference being primary debris removed and ROEs returned to the county and to the landowner. And so little c, cleared, 574. That's 18 more today than yesterday, with 20 crews working today. So we are doing great and making some great progress in terms of capital C properties that have been cleared and erosion control, soil sampled, and ROEs turned back to the county. We are at 212. So that number is also steadily improving. Yeah, mind you, we are almost to 50% of the properties that we have the rights of entry for. So as a public service announcement, if you have a friend or a colleague or a neighbor who is uncertain about whether they should join the debris removal program, you should send them our way. Have them come talk to someone in a red shirt, call our hotline on Maui Recovers, our hotline number, talk to one of our nice ladies who will answer their questions, and if we can't answer them, we have a team member that can answer it. We want you to have the answers, or your neighbors that haven't opted in to have the answers so they can make an informed decision. We can get all of this debris removed from Lahaina and safely stored in the temporary disposal site. The other thing I was asked to talk about is sort of our high wind protocol. So we would probably be a little bit closer to 600, but we actually shut down operations for 2.5 days last week due to high winds. So there was concern, what happens when we get winds that are 40, 50 miles an hour? We make as everyone here knows, right? Winds are not the same everywhere on the island. So we make an informed decision based on the location of where the crews are working, whether we're going to shut down operations entirely or in certain areas where the winds are high. And that is for the safety of the community, and in some cases that is also in safety of the crews. We do a lot of work around large vehicles, large equipment, with plastic, and we just want to make sure that the wind's not going to impact our operations and cause harm to one of our employees or one of our contractors. And certainly we don't want any of the debris going airborne in high winds. So I just wanted to clarify that. And I think also I just wanted, sorry, I'm going a little long. I just wanted to give a shout out to Dawn and Dave and Quay at the EPA and the whole EPA team here testing water. They are really doing an awesome job, and I feel like I'm blessed that they're here helping the Corps and helping you sort of advance this cleanup recovery and getting you all one step closer to being able to rebuild. And I'd also like to give a big shout out to Chemo and the Maui County Department of Water Supply, who have been really awesome this whole time, but in particular this past week as we were working through some water concerns. So a big shout out to them. And with that, I'll pass the mic back. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Up next is Jen Maiden and Kate Bystone. This is a dynamic duo who's going to kick off and share the Office of Recovery's community planning.
There you go. We're gonna test. 1, 2, can you hear me? Aloha kako. It's nice to see all of you. My name is Kate Blystone, and this is Jen Maiden. I'm the director of the planning department, and Jen is an executive assistant in the Office of Recovery. If we look familiar to you, and you were here a few years ago, we were part of the planning team that did the West Maui Community Plan. So that's why we might look familiar to you. Tonight, we're going to talk about the community planning team and what we're doing as part of this recovery effort, and invite you to engage with us. So you already know the two of us. So tonight we're going to talk about recovery planning, why we do a recovery plan, and how to get involved, and then all of the community feedback that we've heard so far. So our mission is to engage Lahaina and coordinate an inclusive recovery process. And to do that, we need a lot of partners. It's not just Jen and I up here doing all the work. We are working closely with the community of Lahaina, and you're going to see more about how we're going to do that going forward. I represent the Department of Planning, but there's a lot of folks from the Department of Planning that are assisting with this effort. I would like my peeps to raise their hand over here from the Long Range Division. There they are. Thank you. Yeah. Also, the Maui County Office of Recovery, as we get more people engaged in that work, they are assisting with this. We are getting great assistance from the state of Hawaii and the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. They don't really come to stuff, but they are on our weekly calls, and they connect with us that way. We put FEMA Community Assistance up here. They've been really actively engaged in this work with us, but all of our federal partners have been really, really helpful because they've been through this before and we never have. So it's really helpful to have their guidance and support. And we couldn't do what we're doing without our nonprofit partners and all of our private partners, the consultants that were hired to assist with this work. So big thanks to all of those folks. I wanted to call out the FEMA partners especially because you're going to see a lot more of them. Can you raise your hand, FEMA folks? Yeah. So when you come to the neighborhood meetings later, you're going to see some of them around. I'm going to turn over to Jen.
Mahalo, Kate. Aloha kako. So just to share a little bit about the phases of disaster recovery to kind of know where you've been, where we're at, where we're going. So in disaster recovery, it's kind of seen as 3 distinct phases, with the short-term stabilizing, intermediate reestablishing, and long-term looking towards resilience. Each phase really has its peaks and valleys of level of effort and intensity of work, and each phase has a critical focus and a priority. The early phases of disaster recovery involve saving lives and stabilizing lifelines that the communities need to function. Shelter housing was really a critical stage during the component of this early phase. Then when we move into the intermediate activities, like putting new protections for important infrastructure or getting survivors out of shelter style housing to more stable options, and then debris removal, of course, has been a very critical component of both the short-term and the intermediate phase. And so we are roughly, where you can see we are here at the intersection of short-term and intermediate, with the long-term phase getting started. So planning for the long-term recovery and resilience is important to start now. And as we are taking action in our short term and our intermediate, looking towards long-term sustainable recovery. So of course, communities have a vision for themselves, but a disaster can really change that vision. Disasters unveil vulnerabilities and also uncover opportunities. The recovery is a chance to put a community back together in an improved way. It gives the many stakeholders who make up a community a roadmap for moving forward as a unified, coordinated way. And then that's exactly what the long-term recovery plan is. It's a roadmap that prioritizes community needs and vision, guides rebuilding, and ensures sustainability and resilience. And it's developed through a community-driven process that's inclusive and collaborative. So to take full advantage of the resources and expertise in our community and broader, and also ensure that those who are most impacted have a voice, we need to use a whole community approach. This means bringing together residents, local leaders, subject matter experts, nonprofit organizations, as well as government and private partners to collectively understand and assess the needs of the community and determine the best way to build a secure and thriving future. At the core of this process is community engagement and the Lahaina community.
So as you've just gone through the West Maui Community Plan process, you're probably going, why do we need another plan? It's a perfectly reasonable question. So the recovery plan that we're talking about really will communicate the community's vision, goals, and priorities. And that happened in our community plan too. If you take a look at the West Maui Community Plan, it talks about that. But this plan will build on the West Maui Community Plan. So that's not lost effort. Everything that you've done to date is totally applicable to what's happening now. But we're also going to go back and check for the reasons that Jen mentioned, that a disaster changes a community. You're different than you were. And we need to check in with you to make sure your priorities are still the same. This is an opportunity to identify opportunities for us to grow a safer and more resilient community. And the two things that are most important about a recovery plan is that within this plan, there's going to be projects. There are things that we can do, ways that we can change our community, and putting them in this plan will give us access to funding resources that we don't currently have access to. So that's why it's really important to do a recovery plan, and the reason why the West Maui Community Plan can't do it all. I will say that your community plan still stands. So as development occurs throughout your community and for years to come, it will be guided by that community plan. So that doesn't change. So let's talk about the recovery planning process. So like I said, it leads to projects, things that you want in your community. And it takes roughly 6 to 8 months. So we're going to be with you for a while here working on this effort. And we're going to engage the community throughout the process. That's in person in meetings like this. That'll be slightly different. We'll talk about that in a minute here. And also virtually. And this is really important because I, went through that West Maui Community Plan process, and there are some faces missing from this room that have moved away, and they should have an opportunity to engage as well. So we'll have a huge virtual presence as well. So it starts with this needs assessment. This is where we're doing community voices, and I'm down here on the lower part. We're going to be including community voices in the conversation, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Those are our neighborhood meetings. Then we're going to look at that project development and then prioritize those projects. And that leads us to a final plan, and then we can start implementing that plan with the funding that's available. So zooming out, I mean, timelines are great because then you know where we're headed, right? Really important. So today we're launching this planning process. And then on April 20th, Saturday, we're going to start our first neighborhood meetings, and Jen's going to talk about those in a second. And throughout the summer, we're going to be building on those neighborhood meetings with focus groups that are going to focus on specific projects and filling those out so we can understand exactly what's needed. On August 8th, on the anniversary, we will give you a snapshot. We promise to share with you what we've learned so far. We won't have a full plan yet, but we'll have a path forward that it's going to start crystallizing. And then in the fall of 2024, we're going to release a draft plan for you to take a look at and to comment on. So you'll have plenty of opportunities throughout this entire process to get any projects that you think need to be done into the hopper. We're going to turn it over to Jen again.
All right, so just a little bit about the neighborhood workshops that both Mahina and Kate mentioned. So we encourage you all to get involved in the neighborhood workshops we'll be holding starting at the end of April 20th, and continuing through May and June. The workshops are really neighborhood conversations covering topics specific to each area. The workshops help ensure that residents are aware of options and opportunities for their neighborhood, and that the county is aware of the preferences and incorporates them into the recovery plan going forward. So as Kate mentioned, the first neighborhood workshop is the Kilauea Mauka neighborhood, Saturday, April 20th at Lahaina Luna Cafeteria, 3 to 5:30, followed by Wahakuli, May 4th. And we will be scheduling dates for other neighborhoods, including shoreline neighborhoods going forward. We'll be getting those dates out soon. All neighborhood workshops and all other engagement activities that we will be doing will be posted on Maui Recovers Ola Lahaina and shared on county's Instagram and shared through media outlets. So you'll definitely have lots of opportunities to be aware of that and come and attend. And as Kate mentioned, for all engagement events, we will have an online virtual option. So that if you can't attend or you don't want to be here in person, and especially for folks who have moved away, that their voice can be included in the long-term recovery plan. Oh, and about the neighborhood workshops, we do have some flyers on the table back here if you want to take a piece of paper with you home. So the survey, we have launched a survey online to get feedback from the community on an array of critical questions related to recovery. We launched it at the beginning of the month, and we have already received 1,400 responses. It'll be open through mid-May. So we really encourage everyone to go to Ola Lahaina, take the survey. You can access it, on Ola Lahaina. There's also handouts with QR codes at the table, and at the end of the presentation, we'll have the QR code up so that you can take it there, just easy with the QR code. And there is also our consultant that's helping us with the survey is also doing a scientific version. Same survey, same questions, but calling and emailing specifically Lahaina residents. So if you get a phone call or an email from Anthology about a survey for Lahaina, please participate. Even if you already participated online, that's okay.
So we have been doing small community engagement so far. And one of those things on the Ola Lahaina page, which Jen mentioned, is this strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. And I don't know, how many of you have participated in our strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities? Few of you? Great. Thank you so much. We'll talk about that. So this is our website. So when you go see Ola Lahaina, this is what it's going to look like. We want to talk a little bit about the feedback that we received on this. So the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, harder to say at this time of day. I'm sorry, my brain's a little fried. So we took it from February 22nd until the end of last month. We had more than 350 people participate in that. That was a good start for us. And we noticed that there were 8 themes that popped out and we're grouping that feedback that we're going to talk about in a minute by those keywords. And then we took time and identified kind of the frequency of each piece of feedback, and that led us to this. And this, you don't have to read this. We'll talk more through this. It's fine. But basically, the themes that we saw after Jen and I have participated in the West Maui Community Plan Update, we're not that dissimilar. The things that you folks cared about then, you still care about now. Front Street and your town character is vital to you. Resilient and sustainable infrastructure came second, and that we heard in the community plan process as well. Housing, still a vital and important issue, and I fully understand why that is. Cultural values are the core of who you are as a community. Public safety, water and land, climate change, and pivoting away from a tourism economy were really critical as well. So we'll talk through each of these themes and some key items within those themes.
And all of these slides, any presentation we ever do will be available on Ola Lahaina. So if there's things you want to dive in a little deeper, you can definitely access it there. The first theme we heard loud and clear from the community in the Strength, Weaknesses, Opportunity activity is the importance of Front Street and the character of Lahaina town. This theme really centers on rebuilding Front Street and the core of the town with an emphasis on honoring the past while improving resilience, safety, and people-centered design, providing more open space and green space and prioritizing people and pedestrians. Theme 2, the second theme, focuses on rebuilding Lahaina in a way that is less vulnerable to disasters. Sustainability and resilience, the ability of a community to withstand the impacts of a disaster or a threat and rebound stronger are key priorities in your West Maui community plan. So it's confirming that the theme is as important here to the community today for building back. This theme focuses on the need for accessible housing, really focusing on the needs of the local residents and less on the needs of visiting population, and emphasizing the need for rebuilding assistance. There you go. And the fourth theme recognizes the cultural value of Lahaina, both the Hawaiian and local values and the community coming together, as well as the historic and cultural significance of Lahaina as the heart of the kingdom and the desire to rebuild Moku'ula and Mokuhinia.
So it's not surprising that public safety shows up as a critical issue. Rebuilding with fire-resistant materials and creating defensible space around your town certainly came up. And we'll talk more about that over time. Traffic reduction was another thing that we heard plenty of during the West Maui Community Plan update. For theme 6, water and land came up. Because of course, how we use our water and land is critical to how long we can persist in a place. And water, you can see water everywhere is really important to West Maui for good reason, right? You know it, you live here. So it's critical that we, in the recovery, that we think about water, and that's the message we're getting from this. Climate change, not just sea level rise, but also the effects that we saw as a result of this fire. Climate change is real and it's happening, and we have to prepare for it, and we need to build resilient communities to meet that need. And then last theme is really, this probably needs no explanation, but focusing on pivoting our economy away from tourism. That was a critical piece of the feedback we got during the West Maui Community Plan process, and it persists. Some other things that popped up is improving the harbor and focusing on those things that make West Maui special as a way to improve our economy. So that is it for Jen and I tonight. I just want to call your attention to this. This is a QR code for the survey. I'll back away so you can get it. QR code for the survey that we mentioned earlier. Highly recommend you take it. Like I said, 1,400 so far. Jen said 1,400 so far. That's just in, what was it, a 10 days? That's exciting. I don't know. As a community engagement nerd, that's exciting. So the last thing I want to say is that over here we have some boards for you to take a look at after the Q&A is over. I really encourage you to walk through and take a look at all of the community, or all of the teams that are working on recovery with this community. There's all kinds. We're over there, the community planning group, and housing, health and social services, all of them are there. So there's a description of what each of those folks are doing, what those groups are doing, just like Jen and I and the group we're working with, and how they're assisting with recovery. Thank you so much. Mahalo nui loa for your time tonight. We're grateful for this opportunity to tell you about what's up, and look forward to answering your questions and working with you over the next 6 to 8 months. Aloha.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all again. My name is Shane Agawa. I'm the Director of Environmental Management. I'd just like to start off by commending the 3 youth. Oh, they're walking away. But I just wanted to say, I don't know what it's about the people of Seattle, but they're great people. I'm a graduate of Seattle University, so I wish they were still here to hear that. Another thing I like to say is I really got to be on point tonight with my presentation, because a special person in my life is here in person live. My brother, Kyle Agawa, is in here somewhere. So I got to be on point. There he is. And all these presentations is the first time he's watching me live. So good luck to me. So tonight, I'm going to report out on the monitoring and the sampling of the TDS out in Olowalu. For those of you that remember, there was a Bill 120 in council, which related to the right of entry that the county got from DLNR, and hence Army Corps got from the county to do the TDS in Olowalu. So part of Bill 120, the requirements was to have record keeping for air, stormwater, leachate, groundwater quality monitoring, among other things. There's also record keeping that goes along with the requirements of Bill 120. And also, we needed to present this in a public forum, hence what we're sharing with you tonight. And we'll also share the information on the mauirecovers.org website. These are just some of the record keeping requirements that Army Corps needs to uphold as the requirements. I won't go through all of them, but one of the main things is down at the bottom. We need to report quarterly, every 90 days. That's the requirement to report out this monitoring data. One thing is operating plans. You can find it under the West Maui Operations Manual. That's currently a work in progress, but we're almost there, or Army Corps is almost there. So first thing, air quality monitoring. That is section 2.3.a under the Bill 120 requirements. So the first type of monitoring that's being used for air quality is called the dust track monitoring. These are what you see here in this picture. They're placed around the TDS based on wind direction, so it's normally on the downwind side. It samples for particulate matter. That's what the PM stands for, 2.5. The 2.5 is just the size, and it's like micron levels. I'll leave it to the experts to decipher what that means. But so these are what's placed out at the TDS. The data can be found at this website, health.hawaii.gov/Maui wildfires/environmental-hazard-concerns. We'll have this presentation on Maui Recovers, so you don't have to write it down or remember it. When it comes to wind restrictions at the TDS, it's at 25 miles per hour for a 15-minute sustained wind. And the action of that is large truck dumping is restricted. That's just an example. And just to let you know that, as Colonel Swenson mentioned, there has been some high wind events at Olowalu, as a lot of you know. So the TDS operations has been suspended on the dates of February 4th and April 4th to April 6th. So they are watching the winds out there. They suspend operations during those times. Also related to air quality monitoring, it monitors the dust exposure downwind, as I mentioned earlier. The reports are made available on the DOH website. This chart here shows the recorded levels. The blue, which is kind of hard to distinguish, but the blue is the particulate matter 10, which is a little larger size. And the orange is the 2.5, which I mentioned earlier. So as you can see, the highest level that was recorded was 30. And just for comparison, the air in Honolulu is 28, just the standard air in Honolulu. Action level of 35, what does that mean? So anytime we get to a level of 35, the Army Corps would take action, mitigative action at that time to mitigate for the stronger winds or the higher particle readings. So as you can see, the highest it got was 30. In this picture here, you can see the same dust monitor, air quality monitor. And this is the Olowalu TDS. This is the transfer station in Olowalu with the recycling center there. And these are the approximate locations of the monitors. And I say approximate because Army Corps is very good about moving these monitors and adjusting for the wind direction. Air quality monitoring, personnel air monitoring, excuse me. So in addition to the monitors that are downwind of the TDS, the personnel working at the TDS, some of them have these personnel monitors on them. So it's 2 workers twice a week. Samples are collected, they're sent off, and the results show that also they're evaluated against OSHA standards and other health-based values. And sampling results to date have shown no exceedances of health-based values, none, no hits that exceeded health level. And as you can see, this is one of the crews out at the TDS, a bunch of happy guys. I don't know if the foreman told them to smile or not, but I hear they're doing a great job out there. This is another type of air quality monitors that you guys may have heard about. These are the purple air monitors. These are managed and I think distributed by the Department of Health. They monitor daily, continuous monitoring They're located in 5 areas in the Olowalu area. And to date, there's only been one yellow alarm, which is a hit, I guess you could call it. And that was related to a resident cleaning a smoker. Might have been me because I smoke meat and I live in Olowalu. And just to note, down here, an elevated PM 2.5 reading can also be attributed to these other factors. It's not only dust, but car exhaust, chimney smoke, that type of thing can also set off these monitors. Here we show 2 different websites. One is called map.purpleair.com. The other is called fire.airnow.gov. These are related to the purple air monitors that I just spoke about. So any one of you can go to these websites, click on one of these green locations where these purple air monitors are, and it'll pop up real-time data. It'll tell you if it's safe, if it's not safe. It'll give you a reading. Up there is a reading of 5. Over here, they color it green, good. So anytime you're curious about the air quality in Olowalu, you can go to these websites, click on it, and it'll tell you any one of these locations here shown in green. This chart is the air quality index. This is what is based on the safety of the readings that I just showed you. So as you can see up there, green, the level of concern, it's a good, no level of concern, it's good. And the values are 0 to 50. As I mentioned, the highest value and the only value that hit was 30. So that falls under the 0 to 50. Now we go on to the leachate monitoring. This is section 2.3.b in the Bill 120 requirements. So the initial contents of the leachate basin. So the leachate basin is a basin that's downstream of the actual TDS, the operational phase. The initial leachate was based on a large rain event that happened, I believe, January 11th of this year. So at that time, there was no debris from Lahaina in the basin. So that big rain event, the data that they got from that became the baseline. So if you can imagine, you need a starting point to compare different monitors' values. From December 11, that big rain event, that's their baseline. The sampling parameters includes metals, not only metals, but includes metals, which were found in elevated concentrations in the Lahaina ash. I don't want you to get confused by this being in the leachate. These were in the Lahaina ash that has been taken to the TDS. And some of these that you may be familiar with is arsenic, lead, cobalt, and copper. There's a whole list of other things that you'll see that they tested for, but those are the familiar ones. This is just a sample of what is being monitored up there, some of the data. What you see in yellow are those metals, metals of potential concern, or what they're calling it, that's been found in the ash. And just to let you know that some of the metals has been discontinued, the sampling for them, because they haven't been present. There was no readings of them at the TDS, so they've been discontinued. The picture there is the leachate basin. As I mentioned before, they sampled the different rain events. These are the dates of the different rain events. The January 11th one, which you see on the top here, was the baseline rain event. And that's what they're measuring, all these different other rain events that create leachate to the baseline. So just to give you an example of what this leachate basin is, and I'm sorry for the people behind me. There's a leachate basin, there's a liner. On the sides of the liners, those kind of white looking stripes, those are concrete diversion channels. Those are there to prevent stormwater from entering the basin. It flows it away outside downstream. There's that liner, that 80 mil liner there. And those green things that you folks may or may not see, those are sandbags. And what those are is to weight it down so if there's wind, it doesn't balloon it up.
This insert here is a blow up of what you would see on one of the sides of the basin. And what it is, it's tick marks that are spray painted on the side of the basin with different volumes. So somebody from the site can look down and they can see exactly how much volume of leachate is in the basin. So it goes from, I think, 1,000 or 1,000,000 all the way up to 100,000. I believe those are gallons, but Army Corps can correct me if I'm wrong. And as you can see, the basin is dry, it's empty. Oh, let me go back. And one more thing is the basin has been empty since March. So there hasn't been any rain event, no leachate has been created. Leachate, the use, where did it go from the basin? So small amounts of the leachate that were in there were used for dust control within the lined area of the TDS that was designed to hold this leachate away from getting to groundwater. But because there hasn't been any leachate, they're actually using clean water for dust control out there. But anytime the leachate rain event, there's a level of leachate in the pond, they use that for dust control over the lined area. So because there hasn't been any rain events, no leachate produced, there hasn't been any sampling since February 20th. And this is just a picture of an example that they're using actually clean water, not the leachate water for dust control, because there's no leachate being created. Stormwater. One good note here, no leachate has been released from the site nor entered nearby ditches or surface water. None. None, not a lot has been created. Nothing has left the site since. BMP's best management practices are being used. As you can see here, they got filter bags, filter socks around all types of drainage to mitigate anything. One thing to note how clean that is. That means that Army Corps and their contractors are doing an awesome job of mitigating the stormwater when it happens. It's not even getting to the drains. That's pristine sock right there. There's also emergency measures that I mentioned in an earlier slide that was one of the record keeping and documents that we need to produce. So that's going to be detailed in the site operations plan. And here you can just see the TDS. There's a drainage ditch that comes along here, an access road that you folks see the scales. So it just gives you an idea of where that drainage is and that the water has never reached that point from the site. This is a slide showing the stormwater runoff, run-on direction, meaning how the topography of the land is, the way water naturally flows. So as you can see, you got run-on coming here, runoff going downstream, run-on here, runoff coming down here. So it's designed to shed stormwater from entering into the operational area. These are some of the BMPs that are downstream. And as you can see, they're pristine. So they're doing a great job out there. And the stormwater controls are inspected regularly based on a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which they have. Groundwater monitoring, that's one of the other requirements. So in this diagram, you can see here in yellow, the TDS location. The one in green is the old Olowalu dump landfill, Honopilani Highway down here in the ocean. So these are just approximate locations of the groundwater monitoring wells. One is always down gradient or downstream. Groundwater flows kind of like a river, down, upstream to downstream. There's a well that's going to be located upstream. The wells go about 100 feet deep until they reach the groundwater below. And the samples will be monitored for the same type of materials or metals as the leachate. And there have been no events of any leachate leaving the line basin, thus no potential impacts to groundwater. Nothing left the site, nothing could get to groundwater at this point. Nearby waterway monitoring. So DOH, we just met with them recently. They're working on a coastal water quality monitoring plan This includes 8 locations from Olowalu all the way out to Kaanapali. And they're working, and the website is going to be established soon. However, there has been work that's being done to nearshore waters and monitoring. One is in connection with University of Hawaii. They have an Olowalu sample site. Here's the YouTube channel that you can watch that report on. And it's with Dr. Andrea Kealoha with the University of Hawaii. I think she's an assistant professor at UH Manoa. There's also a Surfrider Foundation. Excuse me if I didn't get the exact name of the agency, but they're also doing data collection of nearshore waters. And so far, DOH has reviewed the data coming from the UH study, and from the Surfrider study. And the data shows that there is no ash or fire-related chemicals present at levels of human health concern in the area. I believe this is the last slide. So here is just a screenshot of Maui Recovers, where you can find this presentation. You can find data that's associated with the TDS monitoring. Army Corps is also working on a final report. I didn't present it here because it's like a 300-page document, but that will be also uploaded on here if you have time to look at that document or wanted to get into the granular details of the data. So there's a link here that you can click that'll give you a copy of Bill 120 if you wanted to review that and see the requirements in there associated with Bill 120. If you click here on this link, which is under temporary debris storage site monitoring, right now we have a summary. It's a 7-page summary that will answer a lot of your questions that we spoke about here tonight. You guys can go take a look at it. We have it open in the back on a laptop, and we also have SMEs, subject matter experts, here to help you if you have any questions. Down here, as I mentioned in the earlier part of the presentation, there's plans and records that was required to be kept and reported from Army Corps. Those can also be found here. And again, this is just a reminder that this update to the public will happen every 90 days. We're required to update and make the public notified about the data that's being collected out there. And finally, I just wanted to, it's not on agenda, I just wanted to recognize again our federal partners, our state partners, FEMA, Army Corps, ECC, their contractor, who's doing an awesome job. As you can see out at the TDS, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's working. Nothing has been contaminated, nothing has been leaving the site. And there's a person that I want to recognize. He doesn't know I'm going to do this, but this person is a subject matter expert. Probably, if not the best, one of the best in the country on this subject matter, solid waste. He works for EPA. He has a lot of credentials to the back of his name, so I'm going to have to read it off this paper. So he is, sorry, wrong slide. He's a federal ESF 10 subject matter expert with the EPA, and he's under the Debris Task Force Disposal Branch of Region 5. This person has been a Superman for us. We have a great team here in the county, but we couldn't do it alone, no way. This person does everything. He schedules meetings, takes notes, gives us expert advice, gives us support, any type of support. He actually flew in recently from Chicago. And we are very blessed to have him as part of our team. And I want to recognize him tonight. His name is Paul Roosh. Paul, can you stand up? I'd like to just mention something funny about Paul. And, you know, I've been in countless meetings with Paul. We all have. Everybody knows Paul. And he's on virtually because he's in Chicago, right? So he's in these meetings with a beanie and this heavy sweater or a coat, and he's now on Maui. So I'm pretty happy he's here, and I don't think it was that hard for him to come here, but thank you, Paul.
Before we take questions, we're going to invite Shannon EE, who is a member. You know, over time we've been talking about these 6 focus areas. One of them is from mental health care and support. And there's some fabulous activities going on. So I'm actually, oh, look, she's standing behind me. Okay, Shannon's ready to share.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Shannon E. I'm with the Department of Health Surgeon. So me and Amy are here to share that there are a lot of mental health resources out there for our community. I am part of your community. I'm your neighbor, friends, daughter. And so I know with the effects of the fire, there can be a lot of stress and trauma that may not affect us every day, but when we come to meetings, things come up, you know, it can trigger things here and there. And so I want you to know that there is resources out there for everyone. Not everyone may feel comfortable with speaking to maybe a therapist or talking story, but there are wellness. We have something called Wellness with Aloha, which is a class that helps you you know, deal with stress, and we give you tools just to help you deal with things. And then, you know, Lahaina people love to talk story amongst each other. And so there's a Kupuna Resource Fair happening this Saturday here at the Civic Center. There's just a lot of things going on. And so I encourage you to look on what's happening on the Maui Recovers page. It has all the information there. And then we will also have someone here at every meeting. So if you feel like you need to talk to someone, Anu is here tonight. She's back there. So yeah, there's just so much out there for everyone. You know, not every form of mental health resources that we have out there is, like I said, if not everybody wants to talk to a mental health specialist, maybe talking to a friend helps, fellowship helps, getting a prayer helps, you know. So I encourage each of you to, no matter what, if you're struggling, there's help out there for you. And we all are in this together. So yeah, we're here. Thanks.
Mahalo, Shannon. Where's my friend Joshua Cooper? Josh? He's going to grab the other microphone. Did he disappear? All right. Oh, look, what a Superman entrance with a bright red shirt. Okay, microphone right there by Austin. And we'll launch into that. But before we do, we have a couple of updates for questions we could not answer. So last week, one of the questions was about the status of the Lahaina Harbor. We're working on that. Hopefully we can get that sooner than later, but we're not prepared today with that update. Another question was, what about the Lahaina Aquatic Center, the swimming pool? And our Parks and Recreation Director and Deputy have told us that they're still undergoing structural assessments. So that's why you don't see the pool open. They've been carefully monitoring, looking at it, and doing their structural assessment to ensure it's ready and safe. Currently, it is not. So that's why it remains closed. And the other one was about Kilohana linking sewer systems in the Wahikuli area. We're going to have Shane answer that shortly, momentarily. But again, we're going to take questions. All you need to do is raise your hand. We're going to run the microphone up to you. It could be for any one of our presenters. We also have resources here from EPA. Thankfully enough, I see that Shane brought his entire army of experts in the back row. We have FEMA here as well. We have our community planning team. So we'll do our best, and if we cannot answer that, we will take a couple of questions, I think, from our social media comments. They're gonna run it over. We're gonna keep working on how best to do that for these meetings so that we can get better at it. So at this time, I'll ask Shane to try to address it. The question, Shane, at the last meeting was the status of linking the sewer system in the Wahikuli area. Yeah.
So I'm not sure what linking means. I'm gonna assume meaning using that. What, could you repeat the question? Or I don't know if somebody who asked that is here and can.
What is the update on linking the sewer system up to the Wahikuli area? Oh, here's an elf behind you with a response. It truly takes a team.
Okay. Thank you to my team that's behind my back. So the answer that I got here is from Wastewater Reclamation Division. The current plan for the Kilohana Temporary Housing Project is for the pump station force main serving the temporary subdivision to discharge to a gravity sewer at the top of Fleming Road. This gravity sewer will run the length of the roadway to the Wahikuli Terrace Park access road. I believe that's the one that runs along the train track, where it will then turn south to the Lahaina number 3 wastewater pump station. That's the pump station you guys see by that old Coconut Grove by the park down there. The county has requested that, number 1, the line in Fleming Road be sized to accommodate the eventual Wahikuli connections, which is the residences, and 2, that the lateral shall be installed to each lot along the construction. In addition, the existing sewer lines near the pump station will be upsized to also accommodate the future flows. So just to let you know, when those lines go in for the temp housing, what this says is that we're asking the developer to keep those lines in there and also asking them to bring the lateral from the main and the road to your lots, whoever are affected on Fleming. And similar to, I believe there's another housing development that may be utilizing Wahikuli Road. I think that's going to be a similar situation as well. We're going to ask for the line to be in there and then to stub out to the lots.
Thank you, Shane. We are going to have a homeowners meeting next week. So some of these questions that are coming from online are actually going to be addressed next week when we're preparing for the homeowners. So those type of questions. But at this time, if you have a question for any of our presenters or would like clarification, please raise your hand right in the front, Auntie. Yeah. And then anyone else, just raise your hand and we'll go in that order. Okay. And then right here in the black top. And then Josh, right after Uncle.
I just wanted to know the update on the water at Waikuli. I know they're testing the lines. Drinking water, I'm sorry.
Oh, drinking water. Here, the microphone's on. Yeah. No, this one. Because, yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, our incident commander here lost her voice. So she's been working really hard, so she asked me to come up here and speak. We're continuing testing the drinking water. We're doing it all over Lahaina, and we can't give specific updates right now. Is that? Yeah. So we're still working with Department of Water Supply, and we hope to have more of an update for you guys next week.
Okay, thank you, EPA. Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Hi. Why is it that they don't sweep from the Hawaiian homes towards Lahaina, start cleaning up the properties instead of jumping all over the place? They should be concentrate on one, or maybe two. All the different equipment all over the place could be all in this area.
Aloha, sir. Great question. So we have about 20 crews working today. Each crew consists of 6 to 10 individuals with 6 to 8 pieces of equipment. And it's not efficient for us to all start in one area and work to, say, from the north to the south. We would be on top of each other, and we need, in order to ensure the safety of the residents who are coming back to observe and to be part of this process with us, for those that choose to do that, for the safety of the county Department of Water Supply and our federal friends from the EPA who are trying desperately to get your water tested, because it's all part of this the process to get us to a place where these rights of entries are returned and power, water, and sewer are back on, right? Those are the keys to getting you one step closer to being able to rebuild. We can't all be on top of each other. We need to be spread out, and we need to work efficiently so we can get the trucks to West Maui, to the temporary disposal site, and to get the metal to the recycling center and the cars. If we were all together, the only person that would benefit maybe is the furthest north house. Everyone else would be at a disadvantage. So that's why it might seem haphazard from a distance, but I assure you it is running like a well-oiled machine. We cleared 18 lots today with 20 crews. I mean, that's efficient. If we can do 18 lots a day, we won't be having this conversation in a few short months. Well, I could. After this is over, we have a map. We can show you kind of where we're working. We are working all over Lahaina town, all over. I would encourage you to go up near maybe the chocolate factory and just look out across Lahaina town, and you will see work going on all over the place.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you, Kimo. Go ahead.
Yes, my name's Steve Thomas, and I'm with Tree Doctor 911. We came over here not to participate in this, but we were here on another venture. And anyway, the lady at the hotel, we work with saving trees that are thought dead, that bringing them back to life. And trees are so important to an indigenous population, to all of us, because they record our history. They have rings in the second round. They record our history. It go through hurricanes, they go through fires, they go through you name it, and they still come out. And my concern, whenever I talked to the person, they said our grandfather, he's 90 years old, and he didn't ask about, he made it through the fire. He didn't ask about, was my car saved? Was my dog saved? Were my kids saved? How about my mango tree? And she said, there's X's marked on several trees, and I understand whenever we have a hazard, sometimes we have to take trees out. I'm what I call a practical environmentalist, but we work all over the world doing these things, watching for trees. We're not here for a business venture. We're just here to say, can we save our trees? When we have one arborist, and this is my understanding, and hopefully I can be corrected on this, but an arborist drives through and he looks at this tree and he says, this is healthy, this is not. There's a circadian clock that's in each tree. Kind of like us, if we go on a flight and we've flown for 20 hours and we've slept all the way and we get off the flight and we say, man, I should be wide awake. Instead, it's like, man, our clock's not set. And the same thing with trees. A lot of these trees that are being cut down are healthy trees. They're still going to come out. Sometimes they'll even bloom like at the very end of the year until they reset their clock. So we need more. If you have just one person driving through, it would be like a bomb went off. And so we go through and say, that person's going to live, that person's dead. We don't do that. We need to check these more strenuously. Let's save our trees, because they're what connect our history today with the future. 30 years from now, the kids will go and say, see that? We helped save that tree. My grandfather used to do, whatever. So my question is this all there is? Is just one arborist that's riding around visually and looking at this? And is he an expert in that area?
Thank you, sir. Colonel?
Sir, great question. We don't have just one arborist. We had a team out here, and since August 8th or just after, we've been assessing the trees. There are hazard trees and there are hazardous trees. So hazardous trees are in lots where we lost a home, the tree is completely burned. That gets essentially removed and taken to the disposal site and treated like the rest of the ash. And then we have hazard trees. Those are trees that were severely damaged by the fire, in many cases killed by the fire. And we have to remove those because the local arborists, right, who deal with the trees in Maui and know the climate, know the type of bugs that are here, know how trees survive and don't survive in this condition, we had them come out and help us mark all of the trees. Now, I acknowledge that trees are resilient, right? We would not have trees in some areas if we had cut every tree down for every hazard that's ever happened. And trees are resilient, like humans, right? We're resilient. So we have gone back out recently with the local county arborist, and we have reevaluated some of the trees that maybe previously had been marked to ensure that the marking that was on it was accurate. And for the most part, it was. We have made some decisions recently to maybe preserve a few more trees that might have been originally marked for removal. But I will tell you that we are in a public health emergency here, and we are balancing the public's health and the health of the trees. And just the other day, we had a tree branch fall, a large tree branch fall down in the impacted area, and luckily no one was injured. But we have to balance the public's health and the health of the trees. And you're talking to a guy who's a woodworker. I love trees. I plant trees every year. I hate to cut down trees. But I also don't like trees to fall, and I absolutely don't want a member of this community to be driving down the road and have a tree fall because it was dead, disease was set in, and we didn't take care of it, and it wound up causing additional harm to a community of survivors that is trying to recover, as best as they can from this horrific tragedy. So I appreciate your perspective. We have experts who are working on these trees and helping us identify them, and we will save every tree we can, but we have to balance the public health with what we see as the health of the tree.
But a visual is not good enough to determine the structural integrity. You have to have some more specific plans, or you're going to be cutting trees down that need to be left alone.
Yes, sir. We have numerous arborist companies that are Maui based that are helping us make these decisions. But I do appreciate your concern for the trees.
All right, we have one in the front row, Josh, with the hat on and the black shirt. And again, raise your hand. Oh, and we have Uncle, right? Are you raising for Uncle, or you have your own? Oh, okay. Okay, we'll let Uncle ask. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you, everybody. I would like to give great appreciation to Ola Lahaina. I think that is the way to kind of like make a footprint in the recovery by going out there and addressing the needs of the people, personally, up front. In this kind of meeting, we kind of shy, people. So we sometimes don't want to say things that might either think it's going to embarrass us or not. But I feel that Ola Lahaina is doing what part of the pat engine missing. Yeah. But in any case, I have one thing that still I don't have an answer. I think it's for Sebastian from EPA. I asked him last week about the shoreline safety for the keikis to be able to swim because of the contamination that went up with the smoke and had to settle someplace. And I believe that reaching the cooler waters, the air cooled off and the sediments, settled to the bottom of the sand. I know you take in water quality measures and it seems okay, but what about the contaminants that sunk to the bottom on the sand, on the shoreline being agitated by the waves and current, and the children gonna start playing in there and they fall in there, and sometimes there's water going in the mouth and the contaminants, if it's there, gonna go in the mouth. And from what I gather is there's a lot of silica that went up into the air. And silica is something that is very hazardous to your health, right? But that's only something that, I kind of need to clear in my mind right now. So Sebastian, can you give some form of, answer?
Sure. So I did look a little bit more into that question. So what you're asking specifically about is some of the coastal sampling efforts that are going on. That would be for the sediment, for the surface water. EPA is not the one doing those sampling efforts. I know that there are some private university efforts that are going on. Shane, I believe you mentioned that the Maui Surf Riders Foundation was doing some sampling, and I think Department of Health is also doing some sampling. I believe, Shane, just going off from your, if you wouldn't mind coming up here. Yep.
Got Sebastian off the hook. No.
Shane, can you come up this side just for our
Oh, I'm gonna get my exercise tonight.
getting your steps in?
Was my idea to pass the mic to us to prevent this, but I can't use the exercise. So to answer your question, Mr. Cabanilla, as I mentioned, there are agencies like nonprofits sampling the water. DOH is also going to start sampling the water. 8 locations from Olowalo to Kanapali. They're still trying to finalize their program and get the website up. But what people can do is once that website is up, we can share that on Maui Recovers, and you can go and click and find the water quality in their latest testing. Now, I understand what you're saying about the sand and whatnot. I don't believe, and I don't want to speak for DOH, but I don't believe that they're sampling the sand or the bottom of the ocean. But with the tide and the wave action, I believe, and again, I'm not an expert, whatever's in there are going to come up in the water that they're sampling. And if you see hits on that they say is not safe for public health, then I would assume that it's not good for the keiki to go in the water. So far, the reports that are coming in that DOH has been reviewing, they haven't been doing their own, they will, but they've been reviewing from UH studies, University of Hawaii, and they've been reviewing data coming in from the Maui Surf Rider Foundation. And all the data that they've reviewed so far is saying that it's safe. It's below the public safety threshold, so it's safe.
Thank you, Shane. Uncle, you got another question?
Yeah, no, I know that water quality testing is going to show no hits, but sand is a product that will, hold down sediments, yeah?
Yeah, I understand, and I cannot speak for DOH. I think when they're here, or we can forward that question to them, or provide a link to them that you can ask. They're
Okay.
the experts that can answer that.
Okay, the only reason why is that when they start opening up the beaches to start, letting the kids or whoever go down to swim, at that point in time, can we say that, yeah, it's safe, and not 10 years from now because of a problem at the shoreline, that now we have a problem with health? That's the only beef I got, yeah?
Yeah, that's totally understandable. I think a lot of us share that concern. The thing I can say is that at the time that they do clear the beaches for keiki to swim, I would hope that they did all their due diligence and are confident to open it up. But again, I cannot speak for Department of Health.
Okay, thank you, Shane. Thank you, Uncle. Did you have a question? Go ahead.
Hello? Yes, I do. One quick question is to one of the houses near ours has tested positive for asbestos. So how come their house never get cleaned first before they clean everybody else around us? Because now everybody around us is clean. When they clean that, that's dust and sediment tossed up in the air, land on everybody else's property and contaminate the rest. Shouldn't that have been the first houses to be cleaned before you clean anybody else's house?
Looks like Colonel is going to respond. Thank you.
I didn't see where the question came from. Okay, right there. So we had, I think there was about 30 houses that we came back and we needed to do what we call the phase 1 inspection on for and testing on for asbestos. And some of those houses did come back and test positive for asbestos. So we had to work to get them back into a contract to have that phase 1 portion complete We had moved on from phase 1 to phase 2, and so we closed that portion of the contract out. So we've gone back, we've added that in, and they are getting back on the runway to be tested. What I don't know from this particular house is is it a deferred property and or do we have the ROE? And so
that I don't know.
yeah, so if you want to talk to one of my team in the red shirt, if you give us the address, we can look it up.
It's an ROE.
So the ROE, so the 5th block on the left side was signed?
Yeah.
Okay. So then if that was signed, it should be approaching the runway if it's not already on it, but they can look up the specific address and we can give you a better answer. I do understand your concern. With these properties, we take all precautions. All of the team members are in proper gear, and we're using water and dust mitigation techniques so that we don't put any dust in the air. And, I think the question about, Uncle, your question about the aquatic ecosystem health, I mean, certainly we are prioritizing the homes that we have ROEs from that are near bodies of water, trying to get all of that debris cleaned up so that, if we did have a large rain event, we don't create further environmental concerns. We don't have all the ROEs though, as I said earlier. So we are working desperately to answer people's questions and hopefully convince them or at least educate them to the point where they will sign up to the program so that we can rapidly remove the debris and get it safely stored in the temporary disposal site until it can be put into a permanent disposal site. But thank you for your question.
Thank you. Joshua?
Sorry, I get one more.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I think this is going to be for FEMA. So I went household of 7, and I got supposedly offered 4 times home someplace in the other side. With my work and my wife's work and my children, that's not going to work for us. We both work 2 different times of the day. The stress level for my children and myself to travel them from Lahaina to the other side is not going to happen. And I'm kind of getting tired of being bullied around by FEMA. You guys are trying to force us and push us out of our own hometown. I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to put my foot down and say no. So now what happens with me and my family, my youngest is 7 months old. She was born 6 days after the fire. What will going to happen to us? You guys saying you guys not going to kick us out. Legally, you cannot tell me you're going to kick me out. So your answer to that is, it's going to affect my housing situation. Technically, you're telling me you're going to kick me out. What's going on with that? Where I'm at right now is fine. Unless you can find me something out north, I'm not going to accept anything else that way. I work in Lahaina. My children go to school in Lahaina. One of my kids go to Honoka Hall in Hawaiian Immersion. My wife works in Lahaina. I cannot accept that. And it's not because I just don't like go there. It's not working. So now if I'm on my 4th one, am I going to get a letter tomorrow telling me that I got to get out of my hotel room? Where do I go from here?
Good question. Todd Hoos, External Affairs, FEMA. We have a number of people. As you know, about 1/3 of the housing that we have is West Side, Central, and the rest in Lahaina. We know you selected Lahaina. You want to be here. We also know we have limited stock. Another thing we're still doing, we've pretty much accomplished all of our 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. We're still short on those that will take pets, those that are 5 bedrooms or more, and those that are accessible for access and functional needs. I know it's going to be a challenge for us. It has been. It certainly probably was a challenge for you before the fire to find just the right property for your household. We have a team back here that can look into your specific issue, but you're one of, I think, many. I bet I've talked to 7 families that have the same issue. 2 kids in school, 2 cars, both parents work, and they're here.
Well, I'm a household of 7. I got 5 kids.
Yeah.
You guys saying no more any 3 bedrooms in Lahaina, no more this, no more that. That's not a lie. How many people I talked to, they got offered multiple 3 bedroom homes in Lahaina, and all of a sudden I getting offered homes in the other side only,
I
specifically?
thought you said 5 or 7 bedroom. But
No, I need
we're pretty good with 3 bedrooms.
I'm
unless
good
they'll
with a
take pets.
3 bedroom. I've lived in a multi-family home because I cannot afford for go out and rent. Now, especially it's $6,000 a month for a 3 bedroom home. Who can afford that? I
It is,
can't.
yeah.
You
We
know?
have, I certainly don't disagree. We have quite a number of folks. I know there's discussion and we have some challenges because we're federal that we have to follow some specific rules. I think we're at the point where probably going to have to look at your situation and some of those situations where you might have had a 3 bedroom or a 4 or a 5 bedroom and our policy says that you need a 7 bedroom. It may be something that we're going to need to look at your specific case and say, we do have a 5 bedroom here, even though you're eligible for a 7 bedroom and it's closer or it's here, in Lahaina. So every situation is going to be unique. Everyone's going to have a challenge. There are some folks that don't have as many reasons or as significant a case for that, but it's one-on-one. And I mean, we would love to have the properties. We're looking at even building out the group sites, but those aren't going to be ours, Kilohana, right up Fleming Road. Those aren't going to be ready till end of September. And we know.
With that, sorry, keep me where I'm at till September. Why I gotta move?
Well, let's do quick math. And quick math is being stewards of the federal funds. And you're already in a hotel, I'm assuming?
Correct.
Let's just take a 3 bedroom because it's simpler. I have a 3 bedroom property. So I have one household in 3 bedrooms at $1,000 a night. So I'm paying $90,000 a month, federal dollars, when I can put you into a $5,000, $6,000, $11,000 a month property. Yours is even more. We're paying that much more. And so there's a point when we can no longer justify, hey, we've gone this far. Here's what we're doing. Let's say we're paying $5,000 a night for a family that needed 5 properties, a household. It's difficult for us to take that 5 times $30,000 a month and justify, hey, we can still keep them in a hotel. I mean, you look at the federal dollars and think, oh, well, the feds have got plenty of money. At some point, we have to look at it and say, here's the best we can do in this emergency. Here's the best we can do in this situation. Yours specifically, and in fact, I've talked to quite a number of you that have actually simpler issues than that and less significant. We're doing the best we can to find those properties. It will continue to look for them.
Okay, so can they just call me when they find something on the north side? Not call me so that I gotta deny them all the time? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because my job is not gonna, like I said,
it's not
work
easy.
2 different times of the day.
The commute is tough.
Yeah,
I work very often over here. I'm in Kihei, which is pretty close
stress
for me.
level, but the stress level to even log my children around, that's even worse.
Absolutely. Not counting the fact of going through a fire,
Right.
a disaster. I agree. We're going to need to look at those individuals. You're right. It's important. And certainly we're going to do everything we can. There's just going to be a point we talk about. I saw that on the news. Oh, FEMA's going to offer you 4 times. That may be true, but I know some folks that have said, no, I'm out at one time. I've seen other situations where they bring up, FEMA doesn't know everything in your situation. We really only know what's on the form and what we've talked to you about before. A lot of times it's most of the time when someone wants to clarify a case, we can go step by step through the whole issue and say, you know what, let's give it a little more time. It's possible. I can't promise that, but I can promise there are people here that will actually specifically look at the case. I can also promise I'll be here. I've been here for 7 months now, and talk to many of you.
So I think what we want to do is, and I see FEMA standing by right next to you as well, is make sure that your specific thing. But for FEMA, I also hear the question is, if there is going to be a point in time, how do folks understand the runway for that point in time?
After a review of your specific case, and if it doesn't rise to that level where we can say and justify, yes, we're going to need you to drive that far until there's other housing available, there's going to be a time. It's coming up. It was going to come up on April 10th for some of the individuals. But as soon as we've identified, hey, we've looked at everything we found available and we've done everything we can for your case. And if you end up saying no, then it's going to be an opportunity for you. You're going to need to find other housing outside of the hotel. That's not just you, but I mean, if you come up and FEMA says, we've done everything we can, we've gone as far as we can go, it's going to be back on you. It is a disaster scene. It's a federal emergency. The fire was devastating. I've done 8 years of traveling full time to fires, floods, bombings, major events. That's what I go when there's more than 500 houses affected. And I've done it 8 years straight. Living in a hotel is no pleasure, but I've done it for 8 years. There's going to be a time, and it'll have to be a hard choice for you.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, ma'am.
Actually, this is for Todd as well. You talked about limited stock, but on HPR the other day, they had mentioned there are 600 homes that are under direct lease that are sitting empty. And I personally know people who are collecting rent money in the direct lease program, and their unit is still sitting empty. Can you address that?
Absolutely. And I think you and I talked about this before. And I heard a couple weeks ago that a FEMA representative came up here and said that wasn't true. It was true. It still is true. We have quite a number of units that we have paid to match folks up to. We've talked to the family, said, hey, we've got it. It's over in Kihei. It's over wherever it is. Here's the community. Here's the street. We match it. They get there and say, I don't want it. Or they'll get there, they'll say, yeah, I'm good with that, and we'll run a background check. Takes another week or two. Possibly fail the background check. Currently, we have around 82 households, actually more than that, that have not passed the criminal background check, so they wouldn't be eligible for that specific property. We've also had some homeowners that we had the property, we brought the people, we got all set up, and they said, you know what, we're gonna pull it off the market, we changed our mind. But we do have properties that we are paying good dollars for that are sitting empty, but none of the people that we're offering that are eligible for housing are missing out on that property. They're either sitting in the hotel waiting for us, or they're going into that property.
I just comment 600 units seems a little excessive, but next question is for Shane.
I don't believe we have 600 empty units that we're paying for. I can tell you that we have more than that we have deposits on. But they're not sitting empty at 600.
Okay.
We'll go to the next question. You had one for
For
Shane?
Shane.
Okay. And then-
Shane, are you guys only testing for the metals?
No, we are testing for a long list of things that will be on the Maui Recovery website. I just didn't have the room to show it on there. That was just a snippet. But,
So in the news, the EPA has just issued a national regulation for the forever chemicals. Are those going to be tested from our waters and our air quality as well?
Do you know the answer to that?
It came up on my Apple News feed this morning.
Yeah. But they reference EPA. You guys want to speak to that? Or?
And then
Yeah.
actually, while you guys are discussing
Paul,
this, so we're not.
You're going to answer. Could you come
Sure,
up this way?
yeah.
Or this is the now famous Paul Rouge from EPA, all the way from Chicago. He's been with us from the beginning. Paul.
Not Superman, no cape. But I think what you're referring to is the PFAS, the perfluoro. There's a whole list of compounds there. Sure, I apologize. Usually I'm loud enough to fill any room, but apparently not here. We are not testing for those yet. There's still methods being developed. It's typically not looked for in wastewater, but they're on our radar. And you will see on the MauiRecovers.org a huge laundry list, from pesticides to herbicides to volatile organics, oils, everything. But as of yet, we have not sampled for PFAS.
But it will be coming in the future because it's a national regulation now with the EPA.
It may be coming to this. We don't expect to see them. They're typically associated with firefighting foams, certain chemicals.
Well, plastic and PVC piping also produces.
No, we are looking at toxins and furans, and those have been all at non-tech level. So far, that data is on my recovers. The other thing to keep in mind, a lot of these chemicals that we're looking at, we see as indicators for other chemicals, which is why we're looking at metals. There's certain metals that we don't need to look for anymore, but when we see metals, there could be other contaminants there. So I think you'll see we have a pretty comprehensive list of things that we're evaluating for. The Corps has been doing an excellent job. We're also going to be looking for it in groundwater, and we're going to do our best to look for it in the DOH is going to do its best to look for it in ocean water, but it's a different ball game when you're in salt water versus groundwater or fresh water.
Thank you. And then one last thing is the state of Illinois opened up Baby Beach for the public. I'm from Lahaina Judo Mission. We're right on Baby Beach. There, I mean, our temple burned down, so I thought that it would still be considered the burn zone and not accessible for people even via the beach.
So DLNR is not here tonight, but we will get that answer for you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take a couple more questions and then we're going to wrap it to about 7:30 for a couple of hours. So I'm looking, where did that microphone go? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Real quick, Shane, this is probably for next week's meeting, but that temporary line that's been put into Fleming, would that be for us to hook up now or after the 5-year is done with the temporary housing? Then we'd be able to use that line. So I'm sure you didn't get that answer. So I'm going to say we'll wait till next week, Tuesday.
Looks like Colonel has a
Okay.
response.
Paul got me. We're working that. I briefed it last week. I think we're making good progress. We heard what the county asked for the line, and you know, I don't have a definitive answer today, but I'm hopeful in the next 2 or 3 weeks we'll have a definitive answer that'll be favorable. Just like I said, just give us a little patience and stand by, but I think we're moving in that direction.
Thank you, Colonel. Go ahead with the question.
My question is for FEMA in regards to, is there inspections going on before you are paying these owners in these units that you are taking for the displaced families?
There's an inspection prior to that, prior to the actual contract and agreement. I didn't see it, sorry. Oh, there you are, hi. There's an inspection in the beginning, and there also is an inspection at the time that they make the agreement with the owner to lock up the property, basically put a deposit on the property. However, I have seen a number of the properties that we did multiple inspections on and put a party in, and I have found it to be substandard. Some of them weren't cleaned well. Some of them were in some levels of disrepair. And those we're actually going back and checking with who did the inspection, because some of them haven't been up to snuff.
So are the owners still getting paid for these units that are getting passed and you guys are leasing people in? So my situation, there was visible mold below the AC units in the home, in the unit that we are getting leased into. Walk up the stairway, you can see along the ceiling mold. You expect me to bring my 8-month-old son and my 4-year-old daughter in there? And they still, and the FEMA workers that were trying to lease me in, the first picture she took was the same thing. And she also had concerns. She got on the phone, talked to whoever she was talking to. They asked me if I'm still okay with signing in. And so you let me go in there, expose my kids to that mold, and they still getting paid for that unit. That's a waste of money.
I agree. We recently had a unit that was in the burn zone that had clear water. And when we leased it in, actually 2 days before we leased it in, the property owner did another inspection and we didn't know if the water was good or not. And we should not have been paying that. I am actually looking into that one. I'm not looking into yours, but if right after this meeting, if you would get with me and we'll talk about the actual property, because if the property is leased by us and not habitable, it should not be paid for.
Correct.
And that
So
is something we're doing.
Pulled is my question.
It's also terribly inconvenient for you.
Yeah.
So I apologize, which actually was in the article that we didn't apologize. We need to.
Well, I got multiple apologies, but you know.
It's not enough to get rid of mold.
Exactly.
Unless it's an apology with some Lysol.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you for the question.
you.
We're going to take one up above and then down here, and then our team will be here for a while to take questions until they kick us out of the gym. We're making Joshua run. Hopefully not. Right, where is it? Up there? And
Yeah,
then
my
down
question
here.
is for FEMA.
I win.
Okay, you guys moving people out of the hotels and put them in Hyatt, right?
And
You guys moving people to Hyatt and
I
or-
can tell you that a number of the contracts are coming to a close with some hotels. We're currently in 11, and eventually it's going to 4. But when you talk about moving people into hotels, it's actually not FEMA. We pay for it.
It's Red Cross and you guys, right?
Well, it's the state. It's HIEMA, the non-congregate sheltering, which is the folks in the hotels, is HIEMA. It's the state of Hawaii that FEMA reimburses for a certain level of those people in the hotels. But I can probably answer your question anyway. So they are consolidating, and I saw that very soon. The 11 hotels, I believe, are coming down to 4 or 5. I've had to move 8 times since I've been here because I'm under a similar contract. So it's going to be inconvenient again. And it's easier for me to move than you. And again, I need to apologize for that, but I believe it's
My
true.
main question was to this. We coming from a 2-bedroom room and you guys stuck in all us, my family of 6, in one studio. Isn't that against on code?
Yes, that's absolutely wrong. And in fact, I just spoke to 2 families this week that were moved from 3 bedrooms to 2 bedrooms, which is just as big a problem. And so if you come meet with us, we need to talk to you about when you're eligible for 3 rooms with FEMA and with the law and with the state of Hawaii, you're still eligible for 3 rooms at the next hotel. When we consolidate hotels, there's fewer hotels. There's not supposed to be fewer rooms.
Last question.
Last
Those owners that you guys pay the money down to hold that unit,
Yes.
when they back out, they pay you guys back?
As far as the deposit, I can't tell you. Our biggest problem is when we pay for something like your situation and it's not habitable. By the time we get there, it should never have been leased in. Those are the kinds of leases that we're trying to go back and not pay for that amount. And many of them are our fault. It's our inspection. Those are our FEMA employees doing it and leasing those folks in. And so that's something that it's unfortunate, but it is happening.
All right, down here, Joshua, while he's making his way, I will say on social media, we've had some questions and I have the answer for those. That the answer is, we will have your answer at the homeowners meeting. Because it's asking about the timeline, the update on damage found in sewers and water lines. One question about establishing the expedited permitting office. We're going to be talking about the opening of that office next week at the homeowners meeting on Tuesday. So that's where a lot of these questions are going to be prepared and responded to. So we're going to take a question. We've been at it for a couple of hours. Oh, there you go, Kai. Go ahead.
Am I going to be the final? Nah. Anyway, aloha. This question is for Kate and Jen. Great presentation. Thought you'd get off the hook. Maybe you're the last of the day. It would be easy, just to clarify, the communication we've been having in this meeting, in prior meetings, was that there's a RFP that went out to set up a temporary office or a new office of planning in Lahaina for residential permitting, that it might be stood up in sometime in April or by mid-May. And that was out of one of these update meetings that came up, and that was talking about the contract was going out and that we were short-staffed. It would be easy to walk away today and think that I'm not going to be able to get, if I'm one of the residential homes in Waikuli or my area is clean, that I might not be eligible to file for a building permit for 6 to 8 months. Is that true? If I'm in I'm not in a mill camp, I'm not in a place. If I'm just in a regular, I'm not in the SMA zone, I'm just talking about a regular residential zone, my lot's clean, all my lots are clean around me, I'm in Waikuli, can I get a building permit sooner than 6 to 8 months?
So the planning department doesn't do building permits in your space. So I can't really answer that question. And I think this probably will be addressed at the homeowners meeting if I'm not correct. Mahina. Yeah. So I bring that to the homeowners meeting. And also I'm sad the 2 Jordans are not here, because the Jordans are the best when it comes to answering these kinds of questions. But if you're not in the SMA, that's an easier lift than being in the SMA. But also it's not a deal breaker if you're in the SMA. So they're going to talk a little bit about that in the homeowners meeting. And Jen has something to add.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, Kate. But if I'm maybe interpreting your question correctly, the 6 to 8 months, was that referring to the planning process for the long-term recovery plan? That will not impact you if you are ready to build back on your parcel and you described you're not in the SMA, flood zone, et cetera, and you're eligible for the emergency expedited permitting process. The long-term recovery planning process is not going to slow you down. It's giving you the opportunity to think towards the future, building back your home more safely with appropriate materials, all of that defensible space. But our process for long-term recovery with your community is not slowing down. You're coming back to your property. Great question.
So I lied. We're going to take one more question from Paele. There has been patiently waiting, and while we're walking the mic over to Paele, there's a question maybe Colonel you can help this with. Why hasn't there been any debris removal in Kahoma Village, also Opukea and Ho'onanea? Why no clearing?
That's a great question. Partially because most of those are private neighborhoods with lots of landowners living in condominium type apartment complexes. And in order for us, if you had a multiplex apartment that was damaged or destroyed in the fire and is eligible for our program, we have to have all of the signatures, all of the rights of entry signed by everyone from that property. And then in some cases, if it's a private community and has a private road, we need to have additional signature. I'm not making excuses. We are working very, very hard to get all those. And I think today, Clay, we got Kahoma Village. We have been working on that for weeks. And I'm happy to say that today we got the last signature, and I think we'll be able to get moving on that one. But these are all hard-fought victories to get a number of people, some of which live on the island, some of which have moved away, getting all of their signatures so that we can get what we call the master TMK that we have all the rights of entry for, and then we're able to start work. So that's a huge win, and it's going to enter our residential debris contractor's runway shortly, and we'll be getting that place cleared. And I know that's be a huge lift for the community because there's lots of inhabitable homes around there, and if we can get rid of the ones in the middle that have the debris, then that'll ease FEMA's challenges finding homes, and it'll ease your stress as you get to move back into the place that you call home.
Thank you, Colonel. And thank you for your patience. Paele, go ahead.
Okay. I think this question might be for EPA. To my understanding, I know that a lot of the concrete that was scraped off of the properties are now being recycled to be put back onto those lots. I'm not sure if that gravel was actually tested for the potential contaminants like asbestos, the dioxins, and other heavy metals. And if so, and it did come up positive, now all of this gravel is potentially going to have to be scraped back off of the property. Is there also plans, if that's the case, to go back to these properties and now retest the soil that may be potentially contaminated again?
Yeah, great question. So I think it was 10 houses, 11 houses that we had authorized the use of clean, recycled concrete that had been tested. If any concrete that had tested positive for asbestos was treated as debris and never made it to the concrete collection point. Today, we made the decision we're not going to use crushed, clean concrete on residential houses. So we're gonna fix that, and we're just going to continue on with using crushed, clean gravel going forward.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you, everyone. Our team will be here. Please visit the community planning poster boards, myrecovers.org. And again, we have crisis counselors here sitting in the front area, Melissa and Anuhea. Mahalo, everybody. Please drive safe.